Today I'm making a video about Linux Live for Linux Mint, and it's me using my Chromebook 13. I wanted just to use a flash drive, so one bad thing about using the Linux Live boot is that I'm going to boot in right now, is that you can't save any of your settings. So I'm pressing enter. So that, let's say you modify Firefox, or you add a user group, or let's say you even just enter in your Wi-Fi to save it. When you reboot it gets removed. So today I'm going to try to go over how I got persistence to work for using Rufus. And so I'm not sure if this is useful. There's other tools that are, maybe easier to use, but I have a Windows machine and I have Rufus. So I'm going to go through the steps that I did and show you that it sort of works. So the very first step is you need to download the ISO file. So I'm on Linux Mint's website, and let's say I want to download. And you go to downloads. Go to download, let's say Cinnamon Edition. I go download, and then you scroll to the bottom for the mirror sites, and just click on the site that's closest to you, and it'll download the ISO file to your downloads folder, supposedly. Next step is to download Rufus. I usually download the portable version, and I did that already. And so it's all on locally on my drive over here. So I have everything over here, and what I'll do is I pop in my flash drive over here. I'm going to put it into my computer and show you that using Rufus, it has a persistence option. So here's my flash drive. That's the only flash drive that's entered in here right now. I'm going to select the ISO file, which is Linux Mint Cinnamon. And then right, the next option is persistence partition size. So it lets you set up to pretty decent size. This is a 64 gigabyte USB flash drive. So I set mine up to be like 50 gigabytes or something really big. And then you just click start. When it burns the image onto the flash drive, it's going to be very slow. Usually it takes like 5 to 10 minutes, but when I did this, it ended up taking about 40 minutes for a partition size of 50 gigabytes. So anyways, that's what I did. You start, and then it's going to take a while. It takes longer than usual. There's a dev from Rufus that mentioned why it takes so long. But anyways, that's all you have to do to enable persistence onto your USB flash drive. So create a partition that big. I've already done it, so we're not going to show that part. You've created your flash drive, your live flash drive for Linux using the persistent partition, and it's all completed. When you boot into Linux, unfortunately, at the bootloader step, you need to add the flag persistent in, otherwise it won't use persistence. And you can see that Rufus requires this, NetUnit bootin requires this, but other options, if you use startup disk creator or MKUSB, you probably won't have to do that. So anyways, today's video was about using Rufus, and so I'll show you when it boots into Rufus. So when I boot into the splash screen, I've already inserted my flash drive that I created. The settings for starting into Linux or compatibility mode is missing the persistent flag, which I mentioned. I also read about this somewhere else in Linux Live about how you have to use the persistent flag. But anyways, I'm here, and it says tab to edit the options. So I'm going to press the tab key. And you can see this is the command line, or the line that's going to be run. I'm going to put a space here and type in persistent. And press enter. When you use persistence, it's going to access the hard drive instead of just loading everything to memory. So it's going to become slow. Maybe some things might not be too usable. Like I was trying to use Firefox and it was pretty slow. But at least I could save settings now. In order to save time, I actually already used it and saved 3 settings on here. Number 1 is I added Wi-Fi already. Number 2, I already, added a user with password. And also I modified Firefox so the start page was YouTube. So those 3 things to show you that it's enabled now with persistence. Had I not added the persistent flag, it would have just booted to the default settings, which is whatever. There's no Wi-Fi and there's completely blank user groups. Another thing to note while it's loading is boot times are really slow compared to before when it was just the live flash, whereas booting everything into memory. So instead of it taking a minute, now it's taking 3 to 5 minutes. Apps take longer to load. What other things? Even when you try to shut down, it's slow. It takes a minute or so. Still though, if you had just tried taking a flash drive and installing it onto a flash drive, in my limited experience, the flash drive method is super slow, where if you try to install it to a flash drive, it's super slow. And it just took forever for anything to start up. So that wasn't viable at all for me. But this might be livable. If you try to install Linux Mint onto a flash drive, it takes, for me on this machine, this Chromebook 13, it took about 4 to 5 hours to install. And then after that, just to boot, it takes a long time, like 5-10 minutes. And still things don't load up well. So still waiting. I think it's been a few minutes, but it's working its way there. I can pause and I'll come back. Once the cursor appears, I know it's gonna happen soon. So that was about 40 seconds that passed while I paused and unpaused. Should happen soon. And there you see Wi-Fi was established. I didn't have to re-enter the passcode. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start Firefox right now because it takes a while to load. And while it's loading, I'm going to also go to user groups over here. User groups. And I'll show you, I created Alex Dude in a previous session. Whichever loads first, but you can see it has Alex Dude. By default, it should be blank. Firefox is loading now, and it loads to YouTube. So the setting was saved. You can see it's taking a while for it to load YouTube. And so, again, that's the negative thing. It's not as fast when it's running in persistence mode. Had I turned it off, and it was just running off of memory, it would have loaded YouTube just fine. So, yep, you're talking about a delay, and it's sort of usable, but definitely a lot better than just installing into a flash drive, but not as good as installing it internally to your internal memory or a SSD or a M2 drive. These are the recommended methods versus doing a flash drive installer, live installer. See, it's still trying to load YouTube, so pretty slow. That's it. Over and out.